Hey, this is Annie with the Perceptual Computing Lab. This is the first of a four-part tutorial series on getting some basic perceptual computing functionality into the Unity engine. You will need a creative depth camera and a download of the Perceptual Computing SDK. Just Google that, and then it's the top link here. The download button is right here. We're going to focus on getting the color map showing on this cube. So the first thing you're going to want to do is open up Explorer and go to your C drive, Program Files x86, Intel, PC SDK, Framework, Unity, Hello Unity, Assets, Plugins, and then you just need libpxcupipeline.dll and these two CS files, so pxcm-structures and pxcupipeline.cs. Let's go ahead and drag these into our Unity engine. Make sure you hold down Control so that you're copying them and not cutting them. Make a folder called Plugins, and then drop them all under that. So let's right-click on our scripts folder, create, C# script, call it main controller, and then we'll open it up in our MonoDevelop by double-clicking. So after our mono behavior and before our start, we're going to initialize all the things we'll use in our script. So let's call private pxcupipeline, and we'll call it my camera. Do another private texture 2D. We'll call this color map. Private int, and then we're going to put closed brackets because we want it to be a list as opposed to a single integer. We'll call this map size. Public game object. Now the difference between private and public is that private can be accessed within the script, but it can't from outside, whereas public can be accessed from other scripts. And once we apply it within our scene, all the public options will appear as editable in our game engine, but the private won't be. So we'll make this public and we'll call it feedback. Now let's go into our start. Our start function is going to be called once at the beginning when we initialize our game. So let's say my camera equals new, and it will autocomplete to pxcupipeline, which is correct. Let's do a closed parentheses. Map size equals new int, and then we're going to do closed brackets and put 2 in here because we want to feed it a map width and a map height. My camera dot init, and this is going to initialize whatever part of the SDK we want to work with. So we're in this case going to initialize our color VGA. My camera dot query RGB size, and we're going to feed in map size, which, as we know, is our new 2-part integer. And then we're going to say color map equals new texture 2D, and we're going to feed in our width and our height and then a few other options. So first we want map size 0 because that's going to be the first number in our array list. Map size 1, and then we want texture format RGB 32, and then we're going to say false. So after that, we're going to access our feedback, renderer, material, main texture, and we're going to set this to our color map. And that's it for our start. In our update loop, which is called once per frame, we're going to start off with my camera, acquire frame, and then we're going to just feed true into that. At the very end, we're going to say my camera release frame. close parentheses. Now what this does is on every single frame that we're calling, we're going to get whatever the camera sees, and then we're going to run whatever we want to within here, and then at the end we're going to release it. So that stops the frames from building up and stacking on top of each other. So everything you're going to want to do has to happen within here. So let's say my camera dot query RGB, and we're going to query the color map, and then we're just going to apply it. Now after our void, so outside of this bracket here, we're going to drop down and we're going to say void and create a new function called onDisable, and we're just going to say myCamera.close. And what that does is it turns the camera off when we're exiting out of our play state. So let's save. Now in Unity, all of our scripts have to be applied to objects. So we're going to select our main controller script and we're going to drag it onto our camera. Now if you select camera, all of its properties show up in the right hand corner here, and you can see main controller is here. Because we made our feedback object public, it's showing up right here. I want to take our feedback object, which if we go to our front view, you can see is this white cube here, and I'm going to select my camera and drag our feedback object under this feedback game object. Now when we hit play, we should see our RGB feed showing up right here. So this was just a quick overview of getting the RGB feed into our scene. Next I'm going to talk about moving objects with our hands.